Hello everyone, how are you? It's Makeda Valletta. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I'm live on my IG, and I'll save this and repost it to my YouTube. Damn, I don't have my glasses. Please let me know if you can hear me. If you can hear me, put a number 1 in the chat. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me? If you can hear me, put a 1 in the chat. My microphone is on. Okay, thank you for the response. Okay. How are you people? It's Makeda Valletta. Sorry, I'm going to be doing my hair while I'm doing this video because I'm busy and I'm trying to get multiple things done at once. But, in case you're unfamiliar with me, my name is Makeda Valletta, and I'm a native New Yorker who lives in Chicago, and I care about the world, okay? I'm a trainer, nutritionist, but I was raised by activist parents, okay, who've always been involved in politics and social change and social justice, and so have I. People know you in different ways, so if somebody knows me on social media, they might not know all the things that I do and all the things that I've done. But I've always been involved in grassroots advocacy and things of that nature. And so, on this, I have a couple of YouTube, Instagram pages. One of them is about health, fitness, everything from what you're eating to what you're putting on your skin to the air you're breathing. And then this channel is more about my artistic side and talking about social issues, sexuality, stuff like that. Okay, so I do think politics is important, and today I want to talk about the DNC. I've done videos in the past where I spoke about, I did a video during the 2020 election talking about Kamala and Biden and Trump. And there's so much I wanted to say about the DNC. Okay, so let me just say that I've never watched the DNC before. Okay, I never really cared about it that much. I do think, and there's a lot of people who sit around and say, oh, it doesn't matter who wins, and I'm not going to vote because it's all the same, which is a bunch of bullish, okay? Totally not true, and I don't respect people who don't do the work. I was raised by people who did the work. And so I do care about what happens in this country. I'm American, okay? My roots are in America, period, point blank. I'm not repping no other country's flag. There's no other country that I'm going to run to. I don't have one foot in America and one foot in some other country. No, I'm American, okay? This is where my people are buried, okay? For generation, and generation. And that's one thing about the DNC that I felt like got left out. And even in conversations about America in general, there's too much focus on immigrants. Like, yes, a lot of people that came here have this immigrant story, okay? A lot of people that came here, oh, my grandmother came from and they worked really hard. That's not the only American story. So I don't like that. Okay, that's true, but I don't like that that's the only thing that gets emphasized. And I also don't like the fact that it's like, I'm definitely not a Trump supporter. I would never vote for Donald Trump, okay? But I don't like the fact that as a Democrat, and my dad had this issue because my dad was a journalist, okay? In my lifetime, my dad was a journalist. Before I was born, he was heavily involved in the civil rights movement on the front lines of it, okay? His mentor was a woman named Queen Mother Moore. If you don't know who she is, look her up. She was a very important figure in the civil rights movement. My dad is 82. When my dad was 19, she was already like 50 years old. So she's an elder, a really important one. My dad was a part of RAM. He's one of the founding members of RAM, Revolutionary Action Movement, that the Black Panther strategically grew out of. Okay, he was not a Black Panther, but RAM put the Black Panthers together. Okay, so, and since I've been living, he was a journalist who would write for the New York Daily News, Emerge Magazine, the New York Village Voice, the Guardian of London, and he would write his opinions about stuff. He wasn't a reporter. He wrote his opinions, op-ed columns about the world, about politics, world issues, black issues, any of that, and the arts. My mom's a labor organizer, okay? Very high up in ranks in the world of labor organizing. So I grew up on picket lines, saw my mom organize strikes. I saw how difficult that work is, how difficult it is to convince workers. Nobody wants to go on strike. Nobody wants to do that and take less money and have to make signs and be outside on picket lines. It's not fun. And I grew up seeing my mom organize stuff like that. I grew up, watching them make the signs and, hearing her conversations about convincing workers. And I saw my mom successfully organize. I saw her, she was very successful at it. And that's hard work, okay? So that's why I always respect organizers. And Barack Obama coming to Chicago, a city that was not his, and he decided to move to the wild hundreds and organize, okay? I don't even want to do that. I live in Chicago. I love Chicago, but I don't even want to do that, okay? So I respect the people that do the work. It's easy for people to sit around on the internet and be like, oh, okay, so let me go back to topic. My point is that I come from people who have been working in this country, okay? Have been working to change laws, have been working to make things better, okay, for women, for men, for black people, for workers, for all people, okay? And no white boy can tell me that I'm not patriotic because I don't salute, the flag with that, the national anthem, okay? The Star Spangled Banner is a racist song. Look at the full song of what that song is saying. And that song was written by Francis Scott Keys in Maryland, which is that bridge that fell in Baltimore. It's a Francis Scott Key Bridge, okay? Black people shouldn't be made to sing that song. It is offensive to us. The song itself, okay? And that never got brought up with Colin Kaepernick. They never talked about the fact that that song itself is a problem, okay? And no white boy can tell me that I'm not patriotic when my family has always been here. And I have family members that have fought in every single war in this country, okay? Starting with the Revolutionary War. So with that being said, I feel like this whole talk of immigrants even, when people say that America is a nation of immigrants, do they say that about South Africa? Do they say South Africa is a nation of immigrants? Do they say that about Suriname? Do they say that about Trinidad? Do they say that about Colombia? Do they say that about Brazil? Okay, all those countries got a bunch of immigrants. But with America, America's a nation of immigrants. And people say that so much that they try to act like everybody came from immigrants. And I've had people straight up in my face tell me, oh, your family immigrated. My family didn't immigrate here, sweetie. Okay? My bloodline has always been here. I don't have an immigration story. And I don't have other flags that I wave. Okay? I'm American. All right? So that's number one. And so that being number one, and then having family that's been putting in the work. At the DNC, you saw people, like there was a representative from Philadelphia who he talked about his grandmother, okay, and the work that she was doing and how she told him, like she had said to him she was sorry that his generation still had to fight for this. And he said, it's okay, grandma, the work is not over. It's not done. And I know that. There's a lot of people who spoke at the DNC who come from families that 2-3 generations in have been doing the work. There's a lot of people like that. And I can relate to that. And I grew up around people who were doing the work and their kids are continuing to do the work. It's like, and that's the thing about Kamala. When people wanted to be, oh, she black, blah, blah, blah. Her parents had her at civil rights protests, okay? Most people did not grow up with their parents taking them to stuff like that. When Mandela got out of prison and he came to New York City, my parents took me to see Mandela when he came to Harlem, okay? I was a little girl, and they took me to see Mandela. When there was the 30th anniversary of the March on Washington, which I believe happened in 1963. So the 30th anniversary, which was in 1993, I was a little girl. My parents took me down to D.C. for that 30th anniversary. Okay? And so, and then my mom, organizing strikes, and I grew up around that. When you grow up with parents who expose you to that, it makes you a certain way. And a lot of times the people who grew up with that, they're the ones that continue to do the work. All right? So someone like Kamala, her parents, had her at those type of protests. So even if her mother wasn't black, she aligned with black people. And at that time, because the age of her parents, that's the age of, my dad and my uncles and stuff like that. And I have a Jamaican uncle who went to Howard University, grew up in Jamaica, light-skinned Jamaican, okay? In Jamaica, they would probably say he wasn't black. Here we would say he's black, okay? Because Jamaica looks at race differently. Jamaica, you'll have a light-skinned brother and a dark-skinned brother, and they'll say the light-skinned one isn't black and the dark-skinned one is, even though they got the same parents. We don't do that in America. I made a video called In Defense of Dominicans where I talked about, and I want to do a video just talking about race in general because there's a lot to talk about with that because race is very unscientific and it's a social construct, okay? And I have an extensive background in science. Race is not scientific at all, okay? It's a cultural construct. So that means your race can vary depending on what country you're in. Everybody doesn't define it the same. And Jamaicans will definitely call a light-skinned person white, okay? So, my uncle, who went to Howard University with Stokely Carmichael, a.k.a. Kwame Ture, who is from Trinidad, okay? And they both went to Howard University. And my uncle talks about how back then, Caribbeans that came to this country aligned with Black Americans. It wasn't this, now you have certain Caribbeans who, and Africans who don't know our history. They're looking down on us. They're talking ish. You know what I'm saying? There's no respect. It wasn't like that then. Okay. So Kamala's parents, they're from that same generation, that same time. So to me, that already tells me something. Okay. And the people who are sitting around like, oh, she didn't do nothing. It tells me that you come from do nothing parents. Because the people who come from parents who actually were doing the work, we're a small minority. Very small. And real recognizes real. Okay? I can recognize, it's like if you from the hood, even if you a hood rat, you could recognize other hood rats and other hood rat behavior. Okay? So if you come from a family that's been doing the work, a family of intellectuals, a family of freedom fighters, you can recognize the other people who came from that. Okay? So, when it comes to someone, when it comes to someone like Donald Trump, now I'm from New York City, okay? New York City hates Donald Trump, okay? The people with the real money in New York don't fuck with Donald Trump, okay? When Donald Trump ran for president the first time, our ex-mayor, Bloomberg, who's a real billionaire, okay? And Bloomberg, who came from nothing for real and became rich, a New Yorker and a Republican, did not endorse Donald Trump. The first time he endorsed Hillary Clinton. Now you have at the DNC all these Republicans who spoke. All of these Republicans who spoke against Donald Trump. That's never happened in any recent history. Now ask my aunt who's 84, had she ever seen that before? She said, not in her lifetime. So I don't know what happened over 80 years ago or if it's ever happened. But there were several Republicans who were at the DNC, people who worked for Trump, okay, who are saying he is a danger. And anybody who understands how the world works, how politics works, knows that he's a danger. So, first of all, when you look at the makings of a leader, okay, you have to have discernment, okay? Anybody who is a pro-Trump, okay, you're lacking discernment. And I'm not saying that he can't be right on a couple of issues, okay? Because one thing my dad said is that he agreed with him with NATO, okay? And I did a long video with my dad about Ukraine and Russia and NATO. And it's not the typical opinions that you hear. And in this talk with my dad, he quoted a lot of scholars, okay? Like I was raised around real scholars, people who back up every single thing they're saying. They give references to scholarly texts and scholars, okay, all the time. And so that's how I was raised to be before I even formed an opinion. That came from my dad, and then it came from my wonderful education in the New York City public school system, okay, because I am pro-public school. Now, granted, I grew up in New York City where we had subways and we could move around. I grew up in Harlem, but I went to school in the Upper West Side, and I went to very mixed schools, mixed both ethnically, racially, but also socioeconomically. Okay, I went to school with rich kids whose parents could have sent them to private school, but they were in New York City public school. I went to school with kids who were middle class, lower class, whatever. Okay, and everybody I knew that went to private school, they never impressed me. Private school kids never impressed me. And when I went to college, you know, the people that I went to college with who went to private school, they didn't impress me neither. I went to some excellent New York City public high schools, okay? Public schools, not just high schools, all of them, elementary, junior high, high school. And I really respect teachers, okay? To me, I put teachers on a pedestal. My aunt she was like a second mom to me, who I spent so much time with growing up. She was a teacher, a public school teacher in Atlantic City. And, you know, and not just like hold on a minute, I have to sneeze. Hold up. It's about to come. I have to sneeze, hold on. Excuse me. Whew. Okay. So my aunt, not only do I feel like teachers understand kids better than even parents, okay? Doesn't matter if they have kids or not. Teachers, I feel like, really have a deep understanding of kids and even what's going on a lot of times. And people should talk to teachers more. But what am I trying to say? I lost my train of thought. I know I was talking about Donald Trump. So let me just jump back on it. Where I'm gonna jump back on it at. He's a scam artist, okay? The man has all these felonies. He's been convicted. He's a liar. How many people around this man has been gone to jail, gone to prison? Has that ever happened before? Okay, in the history of this country? And then the people who love Donald Trump, they think Obama's their enemy. That makes no sense. Obama was so respectful, so intelligent, so well-spoken, and they wanted to question if Obama was black. No, Obama's not the same kind of black as me. He's not the same kind of black American as myself. He doesn't come from the same legacy. His father's from Kenya, and his mother is a white American, which to me is a true African American, okay? I don't like the term African American for people like myself, okay? I like the term African American for people who have one African parent and one American parent. Or maybe they have two African parents and they were born here. But then what would be more fitting would be Senegalese American or Ghanaian American or Nigerian American. But, you know, still, I think that African American is for somebody whose parents came from Africa, or you have one American parent, one African American. So Obama truly is African American, okay? So he chose to embrace Black American, okay? I'm talking about my people who've always been here, he chose to embrace our history and culture, knew very much about it, and he put it on the forefront in the most respectful and beautiful way. Okay? When Barack was president, if something terrible happened, if somebody got killed, or he could express condolences. Donald Trump never did that. Okay? And a lot of people died when he was president. You had Charlottesville. You had people dying at Black Lives Matter protests. You had people dying on January 6th. Okay? So all of these people dying at protests when Donald Trump was president. Never did he express any kind of remorse, any kind of empathy, any kind of condolences, any kind of care in the world. Anybody who thinks that Donald Trump cares about them is slow, okay? You're slow. And if you are a business person who thinks, well, he's going to give tax cuts to people with money, that's nothing to applaud, and you should be ashamed of yourself. Multimillionaires and billionaires should be paying a lot of taxes, okay? You think it's okay for rich people not to pay. That's why I don't like Grant Cardone, okay? Rich white man from Louisiana, okay, Louisiana, who wants to act like, oh, racism isn't a thing. That's not a thing. Boy, he's like probably in his 60s. Let's stop the lies, okay? You're from Louisiana. Let's not act like when you was a little boy. Like, I don't believe it. You're from the South, okay? And so this, all you care about is how you can have your billions and not pay your taxes. You don't care that how it's affecting the little man, the people who don't have any money who have to pay, all this extra stuff and you get away with it. That's a bunch of nonsense. I'm not for that. And at the DNC, there were rich people who said that. Like somebody who was like the head of American Express. He was a black man, which I did not know that. He said that. Mark Cuban has said that. We should be paying taxes. Okay? It's like Donald Trump doesn't have a record of public service. People want to talk about, he's actually the most unqualified person to ever run. His ex-VP won't even endorse him. When has that ever happened? His family members, okay? The man was in court with a porn star, okay, while running for president. But then they want to talk about who Kamala had sex with. Donald Trump was convicted of SA. I want to just say it, but I get all these blocks on YouTube. So you know what SA is. He's convicted of that. And you want to talk about who Kamala's had sex with? And oh, she's not smart. When the woman graduated law school, passed the bar, became a district attorney, attorney general, and a senator, which had to be voted into as well. Okay? So the level of immaturity and ignorance, the fact that he gets, when it comes to black people, he gets the worst among us. All these little hippity-hoppity hoodlums from a hood near you who nobody ever heard of, okay? These little hood rat rappers that he gets that nobody's ever heard of in the Bronx endorsing him. And they all say a bunch of nothing. At the DNC, and Chicago, to me, was a great city to hold it because Chicago's actually a very intelligent city. There's a lot of bookstores, a lot of readers, okay? People here are very much into politics, even though this city has the most corrupt politics in the country. I think it's number one, okay? So there's a lot of corruption in Chicago politics. But the people that live in Chicago are very much up on politics, very much pay attention to it, very much care about it, very much know about the history, more than any other city I've been to, okay? And I'm going to say that day two, I love the roll call, okay, where they were going through each state because you learn something about each state and a flavor for each state. And the thing is, I love America, okay? There's a lot of America hate, even from Americans who move out the country, okay? I see Americans who move to South Africa, or they move somewhere else in Africa, and they're just talking crap about America. Like, this is a horrible place. And I've been to Africa. I'd rather be here, okay? I am not running from the United States. I don't come from runners. I don't come from the people that ran because it got tough, okay? And the thing is, the issue that I have sometimes with this whole conversation about America as a nation of immigrants is the fact that you have so many people who they're American and they want to say that they're the same kind of American as me. But then they have one foot in this country and one foot in another country. And they don't really care about America like that. They just want to use the resources so they can retire and go back home. Okay? Nah. You know, and there's a lot, and there's no conversation about how all these immigrants coming in this country affects the people who've always been here. Okay? Because there's this narrative that America can help everybody. Every country around the world is like having an anti-immigrant freaking thing right now, even African countries. But America is just letting in thousands of people from all the nations in the world, and I'm not with that. I feel like if you're from the Americas, you should get priority, meaning Haiti, Mexico, you know, places like that, because we have an intertwined history, very much intertwined. Just like you can walk from Mexico to California, you can swim from Cuba to Florida, okay? Take a little boat from Haiti to Florida, okay? Our histories are very much intertwined, and we moved around. But when people are coming from across the ocean, you're coming from Africa, you're coming from Asia, you're coming from Europe. No, to me, you don't get the same priority. And everybody can't just be running through this country. I feel like there's no respect. And people act like it's just a free-for-all. It's a nation of immigrants, so everybody can come here. We can't turn anybody away because I came from an immigrant family, and it's a nation of immigrants. Enough of that. Okay, because no other country is having that. And every country has immigrants in it. Okay? And the people who are from here, who've always been here, we're still here. Okay? And no, like this overemphasis of Black Americans, the ones who come from my bloodlines, the ones who've been here for generations. There's an overemphasis on Africa. When there's no real proof of that, I'm not going to completely get into that. I'm not going to say that none of us have any African blood, but I think it is way overemphasized and exaggerated and blown out of proportion. Most Black Americans I know whose family has been here for generations, we know the American Indian tribes in our family that come from this land. And when you look at certain things, because I'm very much into anthropology, okay? If I decide to pursue, I don't know, I'm not even going to talk about that here, but I'm very much into anthropology. And when you look at names, okay, like Tawanda, Shaquana, Shaquisha, Shaniqua, those names, which some people will say are ghetto Black names, those names are really American Indian names. If you look around the country, okay, if you move around America, all these states, they're full of American Indian, Native American names. Okay, every state, every single state, okay. And a lot of states are named Mississippi, Tennessee, you know, Massachusetts, Iowa. Those are American Indian names. Miami is an American Indian name. Chicago, Milwaukee, okay, Tuscaloosa, Tallahassee. All right, so there's a lot of it in this country. And then the Shas and the Quas, that comes from here. There's a Tawanda, Illinois. There's a Tawanda, Braxton. That's not an African name, okay? The way a lot of times that we wear our hair, there's a lot of things I could point to. But the fact of the matter is, we were told that, you know, by talking about this, we didn't want to be Black. And when our grandmothers and people in our family were telling us things, and you see it in the undertones in our skin, I mean, there's so many things. And that just gets, oh no, they killed all the Indians. No, of course they're going to tell you that, because they don't want to give us what is owed to us. Period, point blank. And American Indians were also enslaved on this land. When they talk about African slavery, It wasn't just, first of all, I'm going to do another video about the intertwined history of the Americas, because it's kind of similar in different parts of the Americas, but different, okay? There's still differences between the history of Cuba and the history of Trinidad, okay? So in North America, there wasn't as many Africans brought here as it was brought to Brazil, into Colombia, into Cuba, into Jamaica, and Haiti, okay? But also, there were a lot of American Indians enslaved on this land. So let me just get back to the DNC before I get into that too much, okay? That bothered me, how I felt like that, and when you did have someone, a Black American whose bloodline has been here forever, somebody like that spoke, like a Oprah Winfrey, there was this need to always unify with immigrants. And it's not that there's an issue with that, because I grew up in New York City around a lot of immigrants. I grew up around people from all over the world, and it's cool. But to me, it's cool as long as they're our allies. A lot of them are not, you know. And we can talk about immigrants and all of that, but you can't do that and then ignore the people who've always been here. Because one thing I don't like about America, like we're talking about like, you know, education, and you can be whatever you want in America, and these American dreams of people coming here from nothing and building up. And it's like, and this is something I want to do more research about. So if somebody knows about this, please let me know. But it seems to me that there's a lot of scholarships that are given to immigrants, okay, in this country. And it almost seems like American universities favor immigrant students over American students. So there's so many people I know that have come here and gotten free degrees. You know, now we see what's happening with illegals, where in Chicago, in New York, they're giving them debit cards and hotel rooms and food, when there's people in America who are struggling. And there's no place that we can run that's going to help us. So when I've heard immigrants say things like, well, America, you know, they did this to us and they did that to us, so I can come here and do what I want. It's like, okay, first of all, the American government, the people that hijacked this country, they're doing that, and they also have done that to us. They have stolen our land. They have sold our family members and robbed our banks and, you know, terrorized us. They've done that to us as well. So now, for the people who've been here, we have to deal with the white man in the government who has terrorized us. And now we have to deal with immigrants coming here and taking lower wages, you know, owning all the businesses in our neighborhoods and not hiring us, only hiring them and not caring. So now you're an op too. So now we have to deal with it on both sides. And you don't care about our plight, because when you think about America, you think about white people, when this is not the white man's land. They weren't the first ones here. They hijacked it. So you're disregarding the people who've always been here. And even when it comes to the structure of the U.S. government, that comes from the Iroquois Confederacy. Okay, so even how the way our government is set up is complex. And I like that complexity. We have a lot of checks and balances. We don't live in a dictatorship. We have a complex government. A lot of that is designed from the Iroquois Confederacy, people who've always been here. Now, and another thing, I think that with Americans, when we leave the country, we decide to go move to Colombia or go move to Ghana or go move to South Africa, we don't have an American Day parade when we go there. And we don't wave around American flags all the time. We don't. A lot of people that leave the country talk shit about America. But when immigrants come to America, it's the opposite. They flee their country, but then they're so proud to be from there, and they're waving the flags all the time and telling you that they're from that country all the time, all the time, all the time. And many people don't want to assimilate at all. They don't even try to. But when Americans go to somebody else's country, we get chastised for not trying to learn a language and not trying to assimilate. I grew up in New York, full of a neighborhood of Dominicans who didn't try to assimilate to anything. They didn't try to speak a word of English. They didn't care. They were in their Dominican bubble, and that was it. And you come in there, you want something in their store, you have to speak their language. I know Black Americans who moved to New York from Chicago, from other places, and they were in a Caribbean neighborhood, and they went into a restaurant and didn't know some of the items on the menu, and they got ridiculed for not knowing. And my friends, my Black American friends, got irritated because, like, I'm in America, I'm in my country, okay? You're coming in this country with some foreign food that I don't know what it is, and I'm asking you, and you're making fun of me. Like, we don't do that when we go to other people's countries. We wouldn't move to Ghana and open up an American restaurant and then somebody doesn't know what this is and now we're laughing at them in their face. We don't do that. So one thing about Americans, okay, in America, it's a very welcoming land. This is a special country. If it's not a special country, people can say what they want, but if it's not a special country, why are so many people always coming here all the time? Has there ever been a history has there been a time in history since it's been in the United States that you haven't had people constantly trying to come here to better their life? Because when it comes to having a business, opening a business, this is the best country. This is the best country to get money, for real. Okay? Every country has its pros and cons. This country is not perfect. No country is perfect. Hence why people run here all the time. No country is perfect. Okay? Every country has its pros and cons. It's really about what pros and cons you're willing to accept. And because I come from a bloodline that's been putting in the work, I'm committed to this country. This is where I'm from. And I think it's a beautiful country. And I think that the Americas itself is beautiful. Okay? From all the way up north, all the way down south to the Caribbean. Okay? Beautiful. And so I just don't want to see the conversation be so focused on immigrants and not focused on what is owed to the people who've been here. Can we get some scholarships of Black Americans? And I'm talking about Black Americans whose bloodlines have been here for generations. We shouldn't be paying for college tuition. Okay, we shouldn't, and we should barely be paying taxes. We're owed a lot. You can give us reparations that way. Okay, so there's no country, like I said, we can run to where they're going to be giving us what America gives to illegal immigrants in America. Okay. So I feel like when it comes to the Democratic Party, there's something that can never be discussed. And that annoys me. Okay. The trans issue is something that also annoys me because I've done videos before where I talked about the whole LGBTQ. I hate that they try to put it all together because I'm the B in that LGBT whatever. Like, that trans thing and trans stuff and gay stuff don't need to go together. Okay. Because it's two different things. People have been gay since the beginning of time, whatever, normal and natural. But I don't care how, and you've had men with female spirits and women with male spirits, but that doesn't mean that woman with a male spirit is a man. And it doesn't mean that that man with a female spirit is a woman. It doesn't. And so what's happening with this trans thing, what's happening with this trans thing was not being talked about is what's happening with the kids. And I'm not going to get fully into that right now because I don't have the time. I do have to go. But if you even message me in my inbox, I'll send you some things to listen to. But what's happening with the kids in the schools is crazy. Okay. So that's an issue. And that's something that can't be, discussed for real in the Democratic Party. But when it comes to upholding democracy, one thing I appreciated about the DNC, the Republicans who were there, they said they put their country over their party. True patriotism. They put their country over their party. Because they know that Donald Trump is a problem. Okay, he's dangerous. He has, first of all, somebody who will do anything for money is a problem. And Donald Trump is somebody who will do anything for money. That's never good. Because you can easily be bought. He cares about his money more than he cares about anybody. And to the black men out here who want to vote for him, when you guys are also the same ones who complain about how hard it is being a black man, the police always harassing you, blah, 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 blah. And now Donald Trump wants to give full immunity to the police. Like, make it make sense. Donald Trump put our country at risk on January 6th, not wanting to participate in a peaceful transfer of power. That made us vulnerable to all kinds of attacks. Yeah, so and when people say things like both parties are the same, both parties this, both parties that, it's like, first of all, I know that you don't really pay attention to politics. And for myself, to have parents in their 80s and their 70s who has been involved in it, okay, actually doing things for decades, I don't see it that way at all, and I think it's really ignorant when people say, oh, I'm not going to vote, and it's all the same. You get no respect, okay? With two parties, you're not ever going to have any party or person that's going to have everything that you agree with, okay? And unfortunately, it is picking the lesser of two evils in a lot of cases. And I don't think that everybody also is evil. Like, some people just don't know. Like, when you are a politician, there's a lot of topics you have to be up on, and then you have to have all these advisors telling you and da-da-da. And so you're going to make mistakes. But moving on from that, I just wanted to say that night 2, when they did the roll call, I really love that. That DJ I'd never heard of before, DJ Cassidy, he's actually from New York City. He was dope. I was Shazamming songs. It made me just like, it's just like, I really love America. Like, there's so much good music from this country. People can say what they want, but everybody copies us, especially Black Americans. And so night 4, there was a DJ from Chicago. I'm sorry, but that DJ got 2 thumbs down. I talk about this all the time in Chicago. I live in Chicago. The music scene and the soundtrack in Chicago sucks, okay? The soundtrack. What I mean by the soundtrack is the music you hear when you move around the city. It's not popping in Chicago. First of all, they love house music way too much. And that DJ was not good to me. He was playing a lot of house music, a lot of corny stuff. And then you had this drum, and I'm sorry, no offense, but I'm a New Yorker. I'm just going to say what I feel, okay? This is how I know. But there was a drum line that came on stage. It was some kind of Chicago drum line, and they were terrible. First of all, I didn't even hear any drumming. All I heard was house music. How are you doing a drum line to house music? I didn't hear any drumming. They're doing the most theatrical stuff, like they're in a marching band down south to house music, and it was terrible. It was freaking terrible. I'm like, no, I know we're in Chicago, but bring back DJ Cassidy. This DJ, no. I hated that DJ. But night 2, DJ Cassidy, he was great. And that whole roll call and learning a little bit of history about each state and the pride people had for their states, I really like that. And there's people in the mix. I didn't know that the Virgin Islands and Guam and stuff I honestly didn't know that they had delegates and they were involved in elections like that. Yeah, to me, there's somebody in the chat that is talking about espionage against Black activists and organizations, blah, blah, blah. Nobody knows more. You don't know more about that than I do. My dad was a part of COINTELPRO, okay? My dad he was a founding member of Revolutionary Action Movement, RAM, okay? Who strategically put the Black Panthers together. Okay? There's a lot that I know. And I was raised by those people. And none of them would agree with you. And when Malcolm X died, my dad knew Malcolm X very well. He was assassinated 5 blocks from where I grew up. My dad was at over 100 of his speeches. And before he died, he wanted to go door to door in Harlem, knocking on doors, and shame any Black man who wasn't registered to vote. That's how much he knew voting was important. And when the Black Panthers were first founded, they weren't founded in Oakland. They were founded in Lawrence County or Lawrence. I think it's not Lawrence County, but it sounds something like that. County, Alabama. Okay. And they were registering people to vote. And overnight, the politicians in Alabama changed from white to Black because of that. And so it's important to organize protests. It's important to organize. Like, to get what you want from politicians and to it takes work. It's not simply of you just saying something and it's going to happen. I've seen my mom change laws. I've seen her and her people do the work. Take 10 years to change a law only for Bush to come in office and turn it over. Okay? It can take people, look at the cannabis world. Okay? It's 100 years that people were trying to make cannabis legal in this country, and we're still not there. It's become legal in a lot of states, still not legal federally. And that was 100 years. Cannabis used to be completely legal in this country. And it was prescribed for over 50% of medical conditions. Okay, so work has to be done. And a lot of people don't do any work at all. They don't come from people that did any work. They don't do any work, but then, oh, it don't matter. Oh, it's just the same. People who do the work don't say that, and they know better. And at the DNC, there were a lot of people there who were involved who were generations in, like myself. And that representative from Philly, because when my dad left Florida, where he's from St. Augustine, Florida, the oldest town in America. When he came up to Philly, he said that his grandmother, the representative from Philly, who was talking about his grandmother, he knew his grandmother. They used to be comrades back in the day. And someone like Kamala, the DNC was good because it really went through her history. There were people who worked with her, who talked about what she did for people that were dealing with housing scams in California. A lot of her record, okay, she actually has a really impressive record. But most people don't do research. They just see stuff on the internet and they run with it. So Kamala being a prosecutor, why she became a prosecutor, who raised her, who trained her, going to Howard University, being an AKA, there is no question to me about who's better. Okay? And why were there so many Republicans at the DNC? That's never happened before. And respectable ones. Okay, so there was a lot I wanted to say. I thought Warnock gave a great speech. I think her husband gave a great speech. And it's great as a woman to see a woman who's already vice president, now possibly president of the United States with a supportive husband, because let the black community tell it in these new toxic social media videos where they're like, black men want a submissive woman and they don't want a boss, and blah, 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 which is not the black men I knew. On both sides of my family, the women are bosses. My mom's side and my dad's side. And they all have husbands, and they've all had husbands their entire life. So, and their husbands aren't idiots. Their husbands are bosses too. Okay? And they have no problem being with a boss, intelligent black woman. But you leave it up to this, social media, makes me feel like my family's abnormal. But her husband has no problem with that. And he's very supportive. Stepped down from an important job to be supportive. And the Obamas gave great speeches. Both of them are great speakers. Obama's a great orator. And Common. Nobody's talking about Common, but people keep talking about Lil Jon. They talk about Pink performing, Stevie Wonder. Common gave a great performance. I haven't seen any clips. So if you can go look up Common's performance at the DNC, it was great. And it gave such a Chicago feeling. Like, to me, it's sad that Kanye has to be on the wrong side of history, but Kanye and Common are my two favorite Chicago rappers, and they really, to me, embody a Chicago feeling. I'm not from Chicago, but just as someone who lives here and loves this city, to me, it evokes that feeling. Now, I feel like Nas is that for New York, Nas or Mobb Deep, they really make me feel, New York for real. You know what I'm saying? Nas definitely is that one for me from New York for sure. So, like, when I listen to Nas, I'm all in. This is New York City vibes, period, point blank. That's what I feel. Okay. And so Common did a great performance. I think it was night 2. It was great. I loved it. So, yeah, that's all. Of course I'm voting for Kamala. I'm not stupid. Donald Trump's an idiot, okay? He's destructive. He's ignorant, obnoxious, a convicted felon, doesn't respect women, has been convicted of sexual okay? A liar, okay? Central Park 5, okay? Housing discrimination in New York City, okay? So to the blacks that you think Donald Trump cares about you so much, what an idiot you are. Okay, I'm sorry. That's just my opinion. But um, yeah. And so somebody talking about, he said, you think it's an insult that we get hip hop performances and entertainment instead of serious conversation. Again, what a low level comment. Okay, because music plays an important role, not just in society, but it plays an important role in motivation. If you look at, as a dancer, as somebody who studies black dance in the diaspora, you look at black dance in Haiti, in Cuba, it was always connected to revolution. Music and dance, music, dance, and song, okay? All three of them have a history of being connected to revolution. And definitely, since people ever talk about the Haitian Revolution, it definitely played a role in the Haitian Revolution, for sure. It empowers people. It can put good energy. It can motivate, okay? And Common wasn't rapping about nonsense, okay? When Common's, what he was rapping about, he wasn't doing a song that everybody's heard either. It was an original song. And Little John, coming out during the roll call, got people hyped. It got the energy up in the room. So what are you talking about? And there was a lot of serious conversation. Did you watch the DNC? Did you watch all 4 nights and listen to all the speeches and listen to all the facts that were presented? There were lots of serious conversation. So what are you talking about? And music has always been a part of the DNC and the RNC. Little John was not embarrassing. You're embarrassing. Okay? Little John was not embarrassing at all. People were the energy was up in the room. And I'm tired of black people always talking about something being embarrassing. You have black people who are supposed to be so Afrocentric, I'm from Mama Africa and I'm so African, but then you're so embarrassed by our music and dance. There was nothing embarrassing about what Little John was doing. Little John was putting good energy into the room. If you look at the people in the audience, they were excited, they were up, they were dancing, they were moving. It's bringing up and arousing good energy, okay? It's getting people hyped and excited. There's nothing negative about that, and there's nothing embarrassing about that at all. Your comments are embarrassing. Because, first of all, what kind of family do you come from? What have they done? What have you done? And did you watch the DNC? Did you listen to all the things that were talked about? Tell me that. Tell me that. Because what you're saying sounds retarded. Music has been a part, even when people go to war, they had drummer boys, all of that. Okay? There's nothing wrong with that. And you had Stevie Wonder performing. Music has always played an important role in healing. Okay? So, no. Blah, blah, blah. I can't stand fools. Anyhow, for me, if I'm snobbish about anything, I'm snobbish about intelligence. And everybody's not smart enough to be talking to me. I'm sorry. But some things that people say is just so idiotic. Like you have 4 days of a DNC. This dude is still yapping in my box. So tell me first, you're saying everything, but did you watch the DNC? Did you watch all 4 nights of it in its entirety? Because it went on for like 4 hours each day. And even before that, the delegates and stuff who were here, they were in meetings all day, talking about all kinds of things. And you have to get people motivated. No one's going to want to sit and listen to people talk for 7 hours. Like having moments where people get up and move, that's important. Yes, come to a city like New Orleans, one of my favorite cities. Music and dance is something it's a form of resistance, and it's a form of medicine, okay? It can motivate people. It can connect people to who they are, okay? It can make them feel energized to do something tomorrow. Like, please, enough of the nonsense. Little John was great. The DNC had great energy, okay, which is exactly what the RNC did not have. And then you hear, what's his face? Vance talk about, Chicago being a war zone. Milwaukee is a war zone. I dare any of you to look up the most dangerous cities in America. Highest crime rate, violence. Chicago's not in the top 20. It's not. Milwaukee be in the top 10 though. And you know what else? And you can look at multiple sources. You won't see Chicago. You'll see St. Louis, Detroit. You'll see Oakland. You'll definitely see Memphis. You'll see Baltimore. A lot of times you'll see Atlanta in the top 10, definitely in the top 20. You'll see Birmingham. You'll see Cleveland. You'll see New Orleans even, Philly. They're all worse than Chicago. Okay, so Chicago has issues, yes, but it's not the worst. It's not the murder capital. It's not even in the top 20. Chicago's a beautiful city. And so, yeah. So that's what I have to say. If you haven't watched the DNC and you haven't listened to the things that were said, then your comments don't really matter. Okay? I thought night 2 was great. Loved the roll call. Loved the music that the DJ played from every single city and every state. They gave it that flavor. You know, we have 50 states in this country. That's a lot. And most people, I counted. I've been to 37 or 38 of the 50 states. A lot of those states I've been to multiple times. Some of those states I've just been to for a moment, and I want to explore some more. This is a big, diverse country, and most people in America don't go to half of the states. And they don't even know how big and diverse this country is. Every state got different music, different customs, different foods, different slang, different histories, you know? So anywho, I'm going to end this as I need to go on about my day. I'm going to save this and post it to my YouTube, The Renaissance Amazon. So if you're on Instagram, follow me on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, follow me on Instagram, and I'll see you guys later, okay? Peace out.